If you chase being the toughest man in the room, you're missing the point. The men who win in life are the ones who learn to master themselves, not the ones who need to be a master over others. Welcome back to my channel. My grandkids call me Papa Todd, and I created this channel because I've spent a life preparing, trying to be prepared for all kinds of different things. I've done a lot of different things in my life, and I'm kind of using this channel as an opportunity to preserve that with my kids, for my grandkids, and anybody else who might want to, learn certain principles about what it means to be a good man and try to do the best that you can for your family, for your faith, and for others. I'd like to talk about a topic that I think all young men need to learn before they head off to college. And it kind of breaks down 5 key things that I think we have a distortion of. I remember growing up and seeing very dominant male figures in my life, not my father, but others. And it's real easy to kind of get enamored with those people and kind of look up to them, as a boy. But I had a very grounded, successful father who took a different approach and taught me a significantly different approach. And it worked well. It worked well keeping me out of trouble in high school. It worked well when I went off to college, which didn't last very long, but that still worked very well. And then it worked well when it came to having to work with other people at a very young age in certain positions and conditions and jobs that others would have quite easily probably buckled to some of the pressure or some of the negative things that can be said about you when you seek success early, right? So I want to go over those key things, and I invite you to reflect on yourself as a dad and see if there's something that you may have missed, or if there's things that you could implement in your life, or if you've got some great advice too. Love to see that in the comments. Always welcome that feedback. I'm all about raising good kids, whether that's your sons, your daughters, or your grandkids, to be good, responsible people. And I think these are some core lessons that I've learned that differentiate from what we've been taught. So let's get started. Probably the first key lesson, number 1, is finish what you start. This day and age, a lot of kids are jumping into sports, jumping into some topic they think they're super interested in, right? And they don't really finish it. They get tired of it, they make excuses, and they jump out of it real fast. I had 2 boys that like sports, some of them more than others, but once they started, they knew that was a commitment. My youngest boy jumped into football one year, and he was a full helmet shorter than everybody else, and I knew it was going to be a challenge. But what he learned by sticking it out, which, I'm not saying he didn't want out. He did, but I think he kind of knew. He'd seen his brother before him, and all the siblings prior were like, once you start something, you're going to have to finish it. And so what he learned was that no matter how painful it might be or how much punishment I'm going to take, when I walk away from this, I have a level of respect from my teammates that I probably would have never gotten before, from any other group, because they know you took the punishment. They knew that you were the smallest one, but you stuck it out. You persevered, and they pulled you up off the ground many times. And so that's a huge lesson to learn. It may be painful, but when you walk away, your team knows you never gave up on them, and they're not going to give up on you. That's a huge, huge lesson. Compare that to some who might be seeking their applause at the very beginning of things. In other words, they don't feel like it's a task worth pursuing unless they can get enough recognition or attention up front. We all talk about this, I need a trophy for just participating issue, right? This is very much the same, but many of the loudest ones seek that applause first, right? They want that recognition right up front to know whether or not it's worth it for them to even begin the task. These are the same people that when it either gets boring or a little bit tough, you look around and they've disappeared. They've gone away. They don't want to endure something that might be a challenge or that's boring. I would say any fool can start something loudly, but it takes a quiet man to finish it. Core lesson number 2, control your emotions. This has been a real challenge I've seen in our society. And before you go sending your kid off somewhere where they're going to try to be independent, you need to be sure they know how to control their emotions. When you look at your child and they're challenged with something, do they have an instant negative reaction? Do they have trouble controlling their emotions? Do they feel threatened just a little too easily? Does your child start to confuse aggression with strength? Then you've got a problem on your hands and you need to do some correcting. And they need to see this example in you, because most likely this is how it potentially has gotten to this point to begin with. So you need to start setting some examples that they can see you facing these same challenges with, and you describing how you dealt with those things afterwards, and hoping that they can see those things coming up in their life and be able to test that. We don't want these kids leaving the nest, going out without knowing how to handle their emotions. They need to be calm under pressure, slow to anger, giving nothing away emotionally. Because once that emotion level is sensed by others, it's taken advantage of in this world, unfortunately. They need to be able to lock that down, hold it together, and think logically through the situation. It's easier said than done, but it's got to be done nowadays. Stillness is power. Noise is insecurity, dressed up as confidence. And that brings us to lesson number 3. Work with your hands. You ever seen that guy that hires everything out and then he brags about everything that he's done? Now, I'm not saying you can have time to do everything or learn everything. Jack of all trades is a master of none, if you've ever heard of that. But mastering something, something to be proud of, it takes a lot of years to do that. So working with your hands is one way of teaching a boy a lot of different things. They feel like they've accomplished something. Working with your hands, sometimes people think, well, that's a dirty job. And by the way, if you're younger and you're thinking working with your hands, I'm not talking thumbs only, video games. Learn how to get rid of that in your life as soon as possible. It will rob you of a lot of success and a lot of capabilities and a lot of new skills that you can learn. Use your entire hand, all 5 digits on each of them, and learn something. Learn what it takes to really learn something. It takes time to learn something. To master something can take many, many years. Show them what you have learned deeply and show them what value and competence that has created in you. Find something that they have some interest in and create that same level of competence in that. When they look back on the job that they've done, they'll feel a sense of accomplishment. And that accomplishment leads to more quiet competency. And that's important for them, because a man who can fix things doesn't need to bark about it. And that brings us to core lesson number 4. Protect before you possess. You ever see those people who lead by intimidation, not trust? They're kind of obsessed with showing people that they're in charge. Show your sons what a silent guardian looks like. They don't need to advertise any authority. He doesn't need to control people. He actually stabilizes them. This calm confidence level when he comes into the room needs to be felt by others. They need to feel secure when somebody like him walks in the room. And I know a lot of kids are jockeying for position to feel relevant and important, but this quiet confidence comes with a lot more benefits. And that's why protection is strength and possession is insecurity. Teach them the difference between the two. That brings us to our final lesson, lesson 5. Seek wisdom, not approval. Obviously, we live in this day and age of social media and everybody's got their likes. Hit the like button, right? I mean, I want you to hit my like button, obviously, but I don't need you to. I'd love for you to. But some people, their lives kind of depend on it, unfortunately. They're codependent on social media and the likes of others. And this has created a very insecure man. I don't even know that we can call it a man at that point. That level of insecurity that we have, we've got to teach out of them. You need to ask them if they understand why they feel the need to seek that validation, that approval from others. Maybe ask them why they're chasing some certain level of status, whether that's in a group or trying to accomplish something in something different in their life where it's like, why are you seeking that so hard? Sometimes you'll see it when they're just following a crowd of people or a following of people and they claim to be leading it. Teach your sons to be independent thinkers and unconcerned about popularity. You do that by rooting their values in things that have value. I think of how often I went to church. Even if I didn't want to go, my mind was learning things that were rooted in values. Those Christian values that I grew up with made me capable of facing hard times, gave me the Proverbs to be able to know how to react, how to be a wise person. Those values must be led by example in you, in your life. And sometimes we think they are seeing that in our life, but we have to stop and explain some circumstances that pop up. Take the time, pull them aside, and teach them the lessons that you've learned and how you've learned them. Teach them the stories of your life that gave you these 5 core lessons that allowed you to stand on your own when you didn't have mom and dad there to watch over everything and protect you. That last lesson is important, very important, because if your kid needs a crowd to feel strong, he's weak. That should be your sign that you did something wrong here and you need to go back and get that fixed. I hope you're like me. I want my sons to be steady. Men who don't need to shout to be respected. And frankly, that's what the world needs today. Confidence over swagger and wisdom over noise. Love to hear your lessons that you've taught your sons. I think it's more important than ever to get these lessons taught, especially if you're going to send them off to college to be on their own. They need to be able to recognize certain things, know what it is, and be able to stand face to face with it, knowing I'm rooted in my values. I understand what you're trying to teach me, but I'm good, thanks. Right? So leave some comments down below. I'd love to hear more. I've got a couple more ideas that I'm thinking about doing along these same lines. Check out some of my other videos. I get into some wilderness survival stuff a little bit, some urban survival. So I'm just kind of using this channel as an outlet for my kids and grandkids to kind of put down some ideas, and maybe somebody will get something out of it. But hey, I appreciate you being here and sticking through it, and we'll see you at the next one. Appreciate it.